So these are all sounds that I made using a certain kind of sound design technique for ambiances that I want to get into in this video. But the technique itself revolves much more around mindset um, than actual concrete things you do inside your DAW. Um, so I figured the best way to kind of show you how I do this is to kind of just do one live, right? So um, the whole idea behind this technique is to just be sort of free of judgment and give yourself a space to experiment, basically. Um, so I'm doing sort of I'm almost doing random things, but what I'm doing isn't exactly random in the sense that I'm usually like, oh, I wonder what it would sound like if I did blank, and then I try it, and then I just roll with it. I don't really have an end goal in mind like you usually do with sound design. So um, things that are very fun to explore, I find, are stuff like time stretching. Uh, so we can really get into this drum loop and just really stretch it like that. Maybe that's a bit too much. Yeah. Let's just consolidate that and then maybe do a bit of complex stretching as well, because that's always nice. Maybe a little bit faster. Yeah. I'm also thinking at this point that the drum hits are still, like the hits are still too close together. Like it's all very similar stuff happening here, and then when you move a bit further, it's actually, this is kind of fine. Maybe I'll try out a grain delay. Whoops. Grain. Really. Or reverse it maybe. And then bounce that out. Flatten it again. And yeah, I cannot stress how important it is to not be judgmental of your sound design, because the whole idea is that even if you get to a point where you end up with basically white noise, there's still interesting things that you can do to make it worthwhile. So let's cut out the beginning parts here. This isn't really all that exciting there. Yeah, that's also another important principle. If you don't like, if you like everything, or if you like nothing about the sound except for like 1/2 second, it's totally okay to just cut everything out but that 1/2 second, and then just continue with that 1/2 second and just, you know, maybe stretch it out or do some other stuff with it. Because the goal here isn't to make something in particular, it isn't to honor the sample you start with. The goal here is to just, you know, allow yourself to be a mad scientist sometimes and just try random plugins and try settings on the plugins that you otherwise would never try. And every once in a while that leads you to discover some pretty interesting tricks. So thinking Corpus would be pretty cool here. This is neat, but maybe I want to do something really crazy. I want to see how far I can push the wave shapers, so I'll just, you know, mess with these settings. Yeah. Some interesting things happening there. That's nice. Let's do a reverb before it with like really extreme spin and chorus to really mess with the input gain a little bit. Oh yeah, that's nice. Really slimy. So the sound is quite inconsistent at this point, and for the sake of making kind of an ambient sound that you would want to put in the background, it can be nice to have the sound be really consistent, but sometimes that sort of evolution is really what you want. However, with a sample like this, you can see that there's many different parts. Like there's a really dense part here at the beginning, then it gets kind of quiet, then it kind of builds up again, and then more quiet. So sometimes it's nicer to just pick a smaller selection of this and continue working with that instead of taking the whole sample, because then, you know, if we keep listening to a loop over here, then we don't know what's going on over here, and it might sound kind of not really worth dedicating a hard drive space to. So let's actually just go really extreme and start all the way back up with this small bit here, and yeah, let's take that and time stretch it some more. If you couldn't tell by now, I really like to time stretch things in a sound design context. Yeah. Another thing that's nice to do sometimes is take a plugin and then dial in some settings and then just duplicate it out a bunch of times just to see what happens. So one really nice find that I had is if you use like a transient shaper and then you duplicate it a bunch of times, you can get some interesting sounds like this. So from here I could maybe check on a gate and then a bit of a reverb. Yeah, let's bounce this. It's always nice to reverse sounds when you apply reverb to them. Oh, this sounds like that LCD sound system song. I don't know what it's called. Let me. Oh, kind of sounds like the intro to that. I don't know the song. It's in like all the memes about stereotypical YouTube tutorials from like 2008. Anyway, I think you're beginning to kind of get the point that this really is about being free of judgment in your sound design and allowing yourself to be a mad scientist and experiment with whatever you think is interesting to check out. And this is really good to do if you're in one of those moods where you don't really want to work on a track because you're not really feeling it, and you also don't want to do any sound design because you're not feeling super great about about your own work at the moment. If you're feeling a bit insecure, just going out there, just being free of judgment and experimenting is a great way to kind of keep your sound design skills sharp, to discover new things, and to still have some sort of creative output, even if you're not in a creative mood. So yeah, with that said, thank you very much for watching. Join my Discord server. We like to talk about snares there, or at least I do. More people have been joining recently, which is really cool. I also added a channel where you can suggest video ideas for me, and I'll have a look into them, see if I can make a video about it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Have a nice day, and bye-bye.